What's up, party people? It's Keys Dan with RadioWhat.com, DJLittleRock.com, coming to you live and in living color from the Radio What studios. And this is my podcast, What Makes You Famous? It's an extension of the RadioWhat.com internet radio station that I've been running for quite some time. And if you need DJ services, where do I always send you? DJLittleRock.com. One more time, DJLittleRock.com. Check availability, get a free price quote, and maybe you can have me at your next event. You know I like to party with the people. The people need to be entertained. Are you not entertained? Let me entertain you. Today on the program, speaking of entertainment, I have Gary Bryant McGrath of the McGrath Project. Oh, you remember that name? Yeah, you heard about him last year when we talked to him right here on the What Makes You Famous podcast. Formed in Los Angeles, now in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Yeah, the man has been doing it for a long time. And not just him, but his group of comrades, his merry band of men and, well, women as well, that have been helping him out, getting that project off the ground and in your ears. So fantastic. He's got several albums out. You can find them on all your favorite streaming medias. So I encourage you to go check out Gary McGrath. And we're going to hear about what's going on right now in the next few minutes. So stick around. This week's shows. Oh my goodness. I have two public shows. Two. Usually I only have one public show every week, but two. I have my usual Friday night gig at the Rab in Conway, Arkansas, the Video Dance Party Karaoke Jam. Yes, I said karaoke. You're the stars of the show. We got a little concert starring each and every one of you. We got a full bar, kitchen's open, good food. Oh, delicious food. I don't know if you know the new owners. I guess they've had it for about 6 months or so. They're the same ones that own the Italian restaurant in Conway, Arkansas. So yeah, that good food. And it's not just Italian food, but their burgers are good. The wings, pizzas. Oh my goodness. Delicious. Delicioso. Prego. Mwah. Oh, I like it. And then they have pool tables, 10 diamond style professional pool tables, and a pool tournament on Friday nights. So if you want to try your hand at playing pool and possibly make some money while you're waiting to sing on stage right next to yours truly, come on out to the Rab Friday night from 8 p.m. until 12:30 in the AM. That's what I'll be there. I think they open at 4. So if you want to grab yourself some early food before the show, come early, sing often, sing a lot, and dance. Oh my goodness. Good times. And then on Saturday, last Saturday, I was at the Choctaw VFW in Choctaw, Arkansas, right there close to Clinton, Arkansas. And guess what? I'm back again, baby. Usually they've been having me about once a month. And they said, well, we need you, Dan. We need you, Keys, Dan. Come on out this week. So yes, I'll be there. Technically the thing is 9 to 1, but usually I'm there at 8 o'clock, all set up and ready to go. And there's the early birds that are waiting. Some of them have traveled all the way up from Conway. That's a good half hour, 45 minutes to get to Choctaw VFW. So they follow me around, which is great. I like it. I like it when my singers come and visit with me at the Choctaw VFW. And then the other people, the regulars at Choctaw. It's so good. So good. Always a good time at Choctaw VFW. They got a full bar. They got pool tables. They got a big giant dance floor, big giant room. They got a stage, lights. It's yours. Oh my goodness. Good times at the Choctaw VFW Saturday night, officially from 9 o'clock until about 1 in the morning. But, I'll be there at 8. Yeah. So come early. All right. That's enough intro. Let's get into it with, Gary McGrath. Gary Bryant McGrath of the McGrath Project out there in Dallas, Fort Worth mostly. I always say Dallas, Fort Worth because that's the way it's always been said. I guess my mom and my stepdad work at the airline, so it's always Dallas, Fort Worth. Kind of bunch them all in there. All right, Skyping Gary Bryant McGrath now. Winner.
I can.
Look at that. Looks like a real news show, like a real broadcast. Oh, my goodness. Look who's on my screen once again. Gary McGrath. Gary Bryant McGrath. He's got a middle name on this one. It's been.
I have a middle name. I'm important.
It's way over a year. You know what it is. Okay, if you get a middle name, you might be a serial killer. But that's a whole nother show.
That or a guitarist.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Was it Eddie Van Halen? Name some other guitarists that have 3 names.
That's 3 names. Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Stevie Ray Vaughan. Yes. And Prince. No, okay, well.
No. Well, and then there was the Symbol, formerly known as Prince.
That is correct. Oh, I remember those times, man.
My favorite thing from him, that he was on Muppets Tonight, and all the Muppets would talk to him. They'd hold up the sign that had the symbol on it.
Yeah, but artists have had
like, how are you doing? Sign.
Artists have had to do a lot of crazy things to get out of record contracts and different things that they've signed on the dotted line to get their name and likeness back. How do you get your name and likeness back once you've signed it over? Oh my goodness. Let's talk about the business of show.
Yeah, that's why I thought Daft Punk was not so daft when they were wearing the used Star Wars helmets. I thought that was brilliant.
That is so smart. And I think, Sia does the same thing. She kind of puts the bangs in front of her eyes. I don't think I know what Sia really looks like. And that's a new pop star for my loyal listener, in case you didn't know. Come on. She sings Chandelier and has those crazy videos with that little girl that dances real nutty, and music videos. Oh, my goodness. Look, I know it's been a while. It's been over a year since we chatted last. I think it was, well, I don't even have to think. It was March 18th of last year. Gary McGrath, what's been going on with the McGrath project?
Well, we did a run of dates with opening for Tiffany, 80s icon Tiffany. And those went over really well. And we're going to do some more in next year, actually, in probably April is what we're looking at. And before that, we're going out with Guns N' Roses guitarist Gilby Clarke, and we're going out with him for several dates. And we have a new record that comes out next week, but our music video for the lead single got released 2 days ago and is already at 80,000 views. It actually went viral. I'm stunned, actually.
Well,
because I look awful in it, and I'm just kidding.
Well, these are things that we got to worry about in this day and age. Did we get enough likes? Yeah. Did we get enough views? It used to be you take a demo tape over to your local whatever record company, radio station. I used to love that, man. When I was working at terrestrial radio, artists from all over the area would bring me their tapes or their records and say, "Hey, can you take a listen to this?" And I'm the music producer here. I'm the guy who's gonna make or break, and if I like it, I'm gonna play it. Especially at the mom and pop stations. When I was at the little guys where they own 1 or 2 stations in South Florida, I had the ability to listen to it and then play it. Now, when I was working for the big guys that had 200 stations all over the United States, a lot tougher.
Yeah.
Sometimes the music comes in from someplace else. Have you been able to get any music airplay? I know people have their Spotifys and their own music playlist, but the air is a place. It still has its function. Terrestrial radio.
Magic, for sure.
Yeah.
It definitely has its magic. We have 27 stations now nationwide that are playing the single over the last 2 days. And we did Indy 103. Live played it as well during drive time. And we knew when that was because we watched the video go from 20,000 to 40,000 in 20 minutes.
What was it? Indy what?
Indy 103.5 and then Brooklyn Live.
Fantastic.
To the Los Angeles and New York stations. And then, of course, we're based in Dallas, Fort Worth, Texas. And so El Paso's been playing it. Austin's been playing it. We're actually going to be doing the new single live on Good Day Austin in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So they were impressed with it, where they invited us on during the middle of South by Southwest. Or no, the Austin City Limits Festival. I apologize. It's Austin City Limits Festival, and they went, "We canceled someone playing because we want you." And I'm like, "Oh, that's so nice. Who paid you under the table?" But they
That's called payola, and it's illegal. Okay, we're fully aware that payola is illegal.
Yes, we're fully aware of it. Thanks to politicians that shall remain popular.
Well, okay, look, and I've been playing it on radiowhat.com. Now the problem is I can play it, my listeners can listen to it, and it used to be able to tweet on Twitter before X. Oh my goodness. Elon Musk, my buddy, my pal. I look up to you, but you've ruined Twitter, man. It used to be able to, I was able to tweet every song, and that way the artist would know, hey, he's still playing my music. And then they'd have something to retweet. So we were able to put content on Twitter, X, now X, and then they were able to retweet that content, and you would have even more content. Look, just for you, Elon Musk, we were putting content on your thing, and now we can't do it.
Yeah, I was wondering that some stations that are internet stations that said they wanted the lead single from the next record. I sent it to them. They said they'll put it in rotation, and I haven't been tagged in anything. So I'm like, I didn't want to be like that guy and be like, hey, are you playing my stuff? And but yeah, that explains it there if you're not able to do that.
I'm playing it right there on that computer right there, and it's on rotation. But because Elon wants you to pay a little bit, I think he wants you to pay $84 a year to put content on his platform. So I'm going to pay to help you.
From MySpace.
No, he did not, man. And I know MySpace is still out there. It's in some instance. I look every once in a while at my MySpace page, and I still have 11,000 friends on MySpace. And I'm not going to give it up because it's just out there. My name's out there.
Yeah.
And I'm still able to listen to those songs. It's mostly for bands now. Are you still on MySpace at all?
I make a joke live. I always say, follow us on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, X, formerly known as Twitter. And then I'll say MySpace and Tinder and, whatever. And and my fiance just kind of went, is there a MySpace? And I'm like, yes, somewhere. And we saw it yesterday, and she goes, well, you should learn how to log back into this. I'm like, why?
Well,
it's there.
Is that a new thing that's happened over the last year? I noticed you have a relationship, a Facebook confirmed relationship. Is that something that happened?
Yes, it is definitely Facebook confirmed. Yeah, we've been really dear friends for over 25 years, and she's always been a singer. I mean, I met her in choir years and years and years ago, and so she's our singer, and we both found ourselves in a position where we could actually date if we wanted to, and it's just been a wonderful thing. She's had some tragedy in her life. I've had some tragedy in mine, and it's been a wonderful healing process and creative outlet, because the new single came really quickly because she and I just sat down in the house and I just wrote it and said, here, sing this. And she was like, well, what's it about? I'm like, whatever you want it to be.
Well, that is a thing you've had with the McGrath project. Yes, you know how to sing. You have a certain range to your voice, and you have been the front man, but you have a habit of putting pretty ladies out there who have their own ranges that add just that extra. So if you want to give a shout out to your lead singer and favorite gal.
Yeah, I can definitely do a shout out. Hi, Bree. You're probably in the next room laughing at me.
Fantastic. Well, speaking of ladies, and I want to touch upon, look, when you said Tiffany, my heart skipped a beat. Okay. Cause I have kind of a 1 degree.
You think you're alone now?
Oh, well, no, I have a 1 degree of Tiffany, and I really would love it if Tiffany came on this podcast, because I have so many things to talk to her about. But Scott Haslett, is he still involved with her? He was her management of some kind. Did you meet up with Scott when you were on this tour?
No.
Maybe that's the thing.
Scott was not a name that was used. The people that we worked with her, as far as her booking agent and management, were different names and very sweethearts of people. So yeah, I'll pass that along.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, see, years ago when I was
she has several things that she works on all the time.
Yeah,
so I'm sure she'd love to talk about it.
Well, between her and Debbie Gibson, who was the Britney and Christina of the of their time, of my time, if you will, they're fantastic follows on the Instagram and on the Facebook, because they're always putting out content. I just watched something from Debbie Gibson just a little bit ago. She was doing some kind of a cover for charity, I'm sure, and then Tiffany does the same kind of thing. It's pretty dang cool that they keep in the public eye doing their thing.
The really cool thing I find about them was Tiffany was really adamant. We didn't talk to her about Debbie or anything like that, or Deborah as her preferred, but she did let on. Actually, she didn't let on. She just said very bluntly. She goes, the thing that she loves about Time is that the two of them really are legitimate friends and check in on each other all the time, and when they're in the same city, hang out. And she said, they call and stay in touch very frequently, which is neat when you see something in the press and you don't know if that's what the legitimacy is. So it was kind of a neat little fanboy moment to go, "Ooh, that's real."
Yeah. Oh, so my goodness. It's pretty cool. I mean, definitely her songs. I grew up with them. She was famous for being in the malls and breaking out that way. I don't know how.
It's because she was too young to get into any of the clubs.
That is correct. I guess she was 15, 16, and I was about the same age, I think. Maybe a tiny bit older, maybe a couple of years older than her. But no, it's nice that people break out. And I wonder, how do people break out these days? Everybody's got their own YouTube page, their own TikTok. Mm-hmm. And I noticed that you've made the plunge to TikTok, man. You're doing it. You're one of these kids that are doing these TikTok videos. You and you're dancing around and playing guitar and stuff. No, who made you get into TikTok?
I don't think anyone specifically did. I just knew that a lot of people were having one, and so I made one just to see what people were doing. And my biggest hobby is I love to cook. So I'd get on all of these, like, people preparing these desserts or steaks or, salads or whatever they're making. And it was like a cooking thing. And then like some female entrepreneur, to put it politely, saying, if I bounce, do I get X amount of views? And so I thought that was funny. So I made one with me holding up two guitars and saying, so if I bounce, will I get 100,000 views? And, people actually started liking that, so I thought it was kind of funny.
Hey, one can only hope, man. Because I think that's another.
If you want to watch me bounce, you really have some problems, but that's all right.
Well, that's another avenue of monetization. How do you make money in this business we call show? It's certainly not from record sales. It's certainly not from getting plays on Spotify. You got to get millions of plays to get $1. To get $1 out of that.
Yeah, I made a reference to some friends saying that the music industry now has gone back to what the rock and roll and what was called race records, all the blues records from the 50s, from the mid 50s, to where it was, okay, we're back to a singles deal. We can't give you any publishing. We can't give you any royalties, but your name will be really famous. And you do everything you can with every outlet you can. And you just, hope for the best. And it's really interesting to see that because, as you've been in this business called show for quite a while, everything goes in cycles. And so, the fashion is usually like a 20, 25-year cycle before a fashion comes back in. So if you go into like a Walmart or Target, it looks like you're looking at the wardrobe from Sabrina the Teenage Witch from 1994. Mm-hmm. And which is really funny to me because it means I can get out my Looney Tunes shirt, my flannel shirt to put it over thing in my Doc Martens, and I'll be styling like all the young kids.
I don't know if I could still fit into my Born in the USA shirt that I have sitting in my closet that I actually got back in '84.
I just said I could put it on.
Well, I guess baby doll shirts are in style too. So can I get away with it? Will my 17-year-old let me? I don't think so. I don't think she'll let me.
That's when you're like, all right, we're going to the mall. Oh, wait a minute. They still exist?
Right. Well, I mean, it's cool, man. And you were talking about playing your guitars and bouncing them. Yeah. Somebody like me who doesn't know how to play guitar, but is very interested in guitars. You have, all right. One thing you got to get straight with your gal is buying guitars instead of buying her dinner, because I notice your guitars. How many guitars do you have? Because you have at least a Gibson, one of those big fat ones that I know. I saw it at my favorite, my local guitar place for $3,000. Is that a guitar that you have in your possession?
It was more than that, but yeah, it was.
You got a 12-string version of that.
The what I have a Gibson Les Paul custom.
Yes.
Classic. Sorry, and they're around $2,100 to $2,500, and I got that as a birthday gift from a friend.
Good friend
who told me, yeah, very good friend, and he's kept saying, "Why don't you perform? Why don't you tour more on your own?" Because I was doing a lot of session work and being a hired gun for different people. And he's like, "Why don't you go out and do your own stuff?" And I said, "Well, I really don't have the right gear to say, here's this." It was all the kind of budget guitar friendly stuff. And so he bought me that for my 35th birthday. And then I played a lot, and then I was doing a tour, and for my 40th birthday, Gretsch gave me a Silver Falcon, which if you go to your local guitar shop, they're around $3,600. And so those are the two main guitars I play. But I was a big Monkees fan growing up. I got to do stuff with Peter Tork and Michael Nesmith and, well, all of them, and do things. And one of the props for the TV show was this 12-string blonde country gentleman. And Michael put in a call to Gretsch because they don't make them that color. And it was a custom job, and I got hooked up with TV Jones pickups, which made pickups for Gretsch, and they make amazing pickups. And they assembled a replica of it for me under Michael's request. And that's what I use in the video. It's what I tour with. It's my favorite guitar. I mean, I'll probably be buried with the thing.
No, you won't. No, you won't, because it's going to be in your will to whoever can you can pass it down to that can keep playing it forever and ever. No, there's no way. You're not Egyptian. Come on, man. Pharaoh getting buried with a guitar. No, these are things that
Pharaoh. I don't know if I could pull off that long goatee thing.
You certainly could, man. But
looked at the screen, saw it.
But you definitely want those guitars to be played and played, not put on a shelf. They're begging to be played. Oh,
well, that was the thing. My future stepson plays. Is a very good guitar player. Actually, he's playing in the band a little bit, some shows, and he has more guitars than I do. And he doesn't have cheap. I mean, he has one or two cheap ones, but he has like real Gibson Les Paul standards, and he has some of the high end Ibanez and PRSs and stuff like that. And he was like, "Oh, I need like any 20-year-old kid." And he's like, I want an SG, I want a Strat, I want this, or blah, 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 blah. And I was like, I'm perfectly happy with my 4.
Well, in your 20s, you can definitely do whatever you want to do. That's for sure. You gather your gear. By the time you're 30, you should start settling down and get ready to, get married maybe and start thinking about kids. That's the route you want to go. But in your 20s, oh, man, I encourage these kids. Go get a part-time job or a full-time job, and whatever money you make, you put it into your car, and then whatever hobby that you want to turn into a career, is beautiful.
I made the mistake of letting him know that I had a cart for him on Sweetwater of guitars. I want to get him over here for like a birthday or Christmas or whatever else. And he's like, "Well, can I see it?" And dumbass me went, "Yeah, sure." So,
well, you mentioned go ahead.
No, so he has his stuff that he looks forward to. But yeah, one of the companies I'm endorsed by, we got him a 335 copy, and he just loves it.
What company is that? So you can
Vintage guitars.
Vintage guitars. There you go. And now you could say you've done your duty, your due diligence, represent. That's nice. It's nice when guitar companies recognize that you are, well, okay, you mentioned that you were a hired gun. Give my loyal listener an idea of what that is. Oh, hold on a second. Lost the voice here.
Blah, blah.
Go.
Okay. All right. I was originally hired on to be a sub player for Peter Tork's band, Shoe Suede Blues. And it was what he did when he didn't do the Monkees. And it was his favorite thing of doing that kind of Delta and Chicago blues stuff. And then I got hired to be the bass player for the Spencer Davis Group. And then I was working with Tim Bogert from Vanilla Fudge was in my band, and he was in a horrible motorcycle crash. So I would sub for him on tours because he couldn't tour for the Vanilla Fudge and Cactus stuff until Carmine found a permanent replacement. And then I would go out with our drummer with people from like the Doobie Brothers and stuff like that. And I would do Vivian Campbell from Def Leppard and Dio, one of his little side projects that he called Trainwrecks. That was kind of a cover band thing that he would do around LA and stuff like that. And and then I would sit in with Gilby Clarke from Guns N' Roses and Eric Dover from Slash's Snake Pit. And they had a little thing on Thursday nights, and the McGrath Project would open for them, and I'd stick around if they needed an extra guitar player, bass player, which would happen every once in a while. Not horribly often enough, but we'd had a house gig where we opened for them for like 3 years.
Well, these are people that you met in California, right? When you were out there. Now, anybody that reads your bio can see that you've worked with some of these people. You poached the bass guitar, and I'm going to say poach because it's not. I don't know if it's accurate, but it's definitely. It's nice when musicians get together. People from different bands. You had Vanilla Fudge's bass guitarist and Guns N' Roses keyboardist and Foreigner's drummer, and here you are in lead vocals doing your thing back in 2005. That's where it all started. Anybody that wants to hear the in depth, we did a podcast about a year ago. Go ahead and look for it on the feed, and you can hear us iterate all that. But there's new stuff going on. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, the new stuff is interesting because this record it took 3 years to make because I couldn't make up my mind on what I wanted to do. We had a single that was called Piss Me Off that got put out on Texas country and red dirt radio. And it did fairly well. It got into the top 50, and I say that safely. I was told top 20, but I don't know if that's accurate. But I know it definitely got in the top 50. And the record company I was signed to said, can you make a whole record of stuff like this? And at first, just because I was going through a horrible divorce, and I just went, sure, give me something to do. And I wrote the record, and I just didn't like it. And I kind of shelved it. I mean, and some of the songs from that on the new one. And then I decided, okay, well, I'm going to make another type of record, and decided to make a very industrial style record where I was playing all the instruments, and brought Brianna in to sing. And then we got halfway through that, and I went, no, let's do a band record. So then we put a band together and finished that up. And then I had these 3 albums that I'm like, okay, how are we going to release this? And so we picked 10 songs out of those 30 to make this record. And so it's been interesting to see that process kind of go through. And it was all simply because I just, depression sucks. And luckily I had this wonderful muse to direct me. And then we had a great support system through our drummer, Guyton Sanders, and our keyboard player, Dean Minnerly, who is from Three Dog Night, who's been with the band since the beginning. And he's unable to tour. And so a guy that played on some of the other records has come back in as a tour player, and he's been real supportive of Victor Toruno. And my longtime bassist, Eric Delegard, is back with a lot of stuff. And so everybody's been real supportive of it. We made the video, and here we are. We're getting ready we're going to do some local kind of one-off things, but starting in January, we're going to really hit the road. 2024 is going to be really busy for us.
Well, it's nice that you have this stable of musicians that are just very well adversed in what they do, and from different bands and different. Well, okay, They were hired guns because I guess back in the 60s and the 70s, there was only like a handful of bands that played on every album, including the Monkees, albums,
Yeah.
where Davy Jones, all four of them would show up and they'd say, "Oh, we only need Davy. You guys can go home."
And of course, the Monkees were a unique situation because they were a television show like Glee or MASH, and they had all these. They had to get these records done. They had to film the TV show. They had to do commercials. All this stuff. There just isn't enough hours in a day. And when they released the soundtrack, and I use that loosely, and credited them as the band, they kind of went, "Why are you telling the world we're a band? Like, you didn't tell us that." And they had the Palace Revolt and became a real band. But the guys that played on the first two Monkees records are the same people that did the Mamas and the Papas, did Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons, did Buffalo Springfield, did the Beach Boys. There was no difference between those players on all those records. They were all there. And that's kind of leads why that being an influence. When Brianna sings her lead vocals and I have my lead vocals that I do, it's because I loved the Beatles. I loved the Beach Boys. I loved the Monkees. I loved the Temptations, the Four Tops. They had four lead singers. There was, if you didn't like Paul's voice, you had John's. If you didn't like John's, you had George's. And it just made their music more available for different tastes. And it's funny now seeing that some of the, I don't want to say sexism, but it's the only word I got in my arsenal. So out there, that people just don't like female singers. They don't think they can rock hard enough or whatever. And so for those people, I get to scream, yell, and sing. And then for the people that really want that tonalities, Brianna kicks ass. And so it gives that variety of it. And I also love the fact, mentioning the players in the band, the players I've used, I get a lot of comfort being the worst musician in the band, because if I feel like I can play my bass player's part better than him, I'm nervous all night that it's not going to fly. Or if I can play the drums better than the drummer. And if I feel like I'm the worst musician there, then I feel like I need to step up my game and I can constantly grow and learn things. And with the band the way it is, that's definitely how I feel. I look over and watch them in awe, and I let everyone solo. I let everyone do their thing, and I just kind of sit there as like the biggest fan watching them. To me, it's just kind of, hi, I get to be silly. Watch these guys. And listening like Brianna sing, I can do that all day. When, like, if we're in the car or we're at home or whatever, she sings with the radio, I just kind of just watch and get my free concert and love it.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the mark of a good leader, a good boss, is to surround himself with people that are better in those avenues. Okay, look, I don't know how to do this. That guy knows how to do it better. Let me hire him to do that. This girl knows how to do that note better. Let me hire her to do that job. Yeah, that's the mark of a good leader, man. That's fantastic, man. And you recognize that. You don't have such a big ego that you think you can do everything. We can't do it all by ourselves. No way, no how. We need a group. We need people to help us out. People think that these movies and records and all these creative things get done. Oh, look, that actor's getting $20 million for that. Well, what about the other guys that behind the camera, and the guy who wrote the script, and the guy that's setting up everything else? Oh my goodness, there's so much behind the scenes.
Well, like with us, today, for today, we have a viral video. Tomorrow, maybe not, but today we do. So today we get to celebrate. But it wouldn't happen if it wasn't for these 6 booking agents that we work with. People like Tiffany and Gilby Clark, who allow us to be their opening act from time to time. Or, the different members of the press that we've become friends with, like yourself. And without all of that support and friends and family saying, no, you can do this. Go try. If you don't try, you'll never know. Because the world has enough of the, you can't do that, you shouldn't do that, that's impossible, that type of thing no longer exists. And so to have even just one other person outside of the band going, I think this is neat, is a blessing. And we're very fortunate to have a lot. And I wanted to call all of them out today. So on social media, I actually did that and thank them all. Walfredo Rios Jr., who's played drums for me on several occasions, is the current drummer for Chicago and has been for the last 10, 15 years. And he posted the video today on his site and said, "This is my buddy," and
No, you definitely have to give credit where credit is due, and I'm glad that these people recognize. And it's nice once you get to a certain level. He's got this many followers, this many fans to help out the person that's coming up next. And I know you're not that person that's coming up next. You've been around for such a long time. How do you get to the next level? I guess you keep doing this, but I noticed, yes, your videos are getting views. People are liking what you do. Thousands and thousands of views on your videos. So that's got to translate to people, buying your merchandise, maybe buying a ticket to your show. I hope you're getting a good following, and you being out there in California. And I think California has a mass exodus. They're moving out of California, moving all over the Southwest and into Texas. And I think, Austin is like the biggest suburb of California now.
Austin is definitely the new California. And I'm so glad I live 3 hours north. No, it's really surreal. Like all day I've been watching, people say, "Oh, the video's at 40,000. Oh, the video's at 50,000. Oh, you're at 70,000." And I'm like, how? Like, that is so neat. But it's weird because you do things for so long, or we've been doing things for so long. And I was expecting like maybe 4,000, 5,000 views. That was my hope. And I'm so glad that was blown out of the water, because this song particularly was our drummer's pick. He's the one that when we were in the studio making, he goes, "This is the one you need to give to radio. You need to give this to radio." And I have my others that'll be coming out next. But I went, okay, well, if you believe in this, you have to be the one performing it and being passionate about it every night. So okay. I mean, I wrote them. They're all the same to me. I'm like, okay, if you're passionate about it, we'll do it. And Brianna and Victor and Guyton and I went, all right, here we go. We'll do this. And all of us are just sitting there going, wow, that's so cool.
Well, is this the song that you would have picked? Because you being the daddy of all these songs, you got to love them all pretty much the same. You need somebody, a discerning ear.
It's interesting because, like I said, we did about 30 songs and we picked 10 that are out. And so I'm still confused on what's on the record and what's not, because I've changed it so many times in the last month that when it comes out next week, I had to we had to pull up the pre-order on iTunes just to see what songs are listed, because we don't remember. So it's funny when someone goes, "Oh, what songs do you really like?" I'm like, I don't know.
You got the set list written on the palm of your hand.
Yeah. And that's pretty much it. I went, because there's two songs specifically that we took off the record that are very kind of industrial rock things that didn't really fit the whole record, but we're going to release them as singles. They're going to release them on their own merit. And I'm looking forward to those. But for this group, it was a full on, the people that played on this song is who you're going to see live. And I'm really proud of that. And I'm really proud that the song came out the way it was, because, you get to a point to where it's kind of like if you're a chef and you've been working on making a new menu for your restaurant, everything starts tasting the same to you, because you're like, okay, this is every stuff I use. And so to have someone in the middle of the hurricane with me to go, I like that one. It's like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, we'll do that. So it was neat to kind of take a step away. But I really love Brianna's voice on it. I love my 12-string Gretsch is featured in this thing, and I love that. And Victor did an amazing synth part on it that I wish I could have played or even thought of. I looked at him and went, picture, 70s glam rock and go nuts. And I left the room and I came back in, and Guyton and Brianna were watching with their eyes wide, like, that's cool.
Well, let's continue that chef's analogy. And what palate cleanser do you use to step away from the studio, step away from the music. You can't be 24/7 thinking, eating, drinking music. That's like, being at your job all day, all night, 24 hours a day. You got to break away. I mean, do you guys, what's the, okay, if you're on the tourist bureau of Dallas and the surrounding areas, where's the places to eat? Where's the places to go catch a show?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. It's food. We'll go out and watch movies, or we'll binge watch things. We've gotten Brianna and I've gotten into a habit of shows that couldn't work today, like The Jeffersons, All in the Family, Bosom Buddies, and so we've gone to these like buy sell trade stores and bought the series and have been watching that. And have really kind of enjoyed it, going, wow, that's a sense of humor that you couldn't say that today. You couldn't put that up today. And we've been enjoying that. And of course, we're all big Star Wars fans. Everyone in the band is a big Star Wars fan. So anytime there's something new under that universe, we're all like, ooh, we can do this. But no, we all love Chinese food, Italian food, Indian food, Greek food. They like Mexican food. I'm supposedly un-American because I don't like Mexican food, but
Well, where's the one spot? Give a shout out to your favorite restaurant there in Dallas, Fort Worth. We'll put it on the What Makes You Famous walking tour.
Fred's Hamburgers.
Where's that at?
It is in Fort Worth. They were on Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives a few times. And they've been working their butt off to be a staple in a very old city, and they have succeeded, and they are just fantastic. They've seasoned their griddle. They're good. You walk in, you smell it. It's can't go wrong.
No, I like a good burger joint, man. When I went to California, I was out there, and I went to, I think all three of them say the original Tommy's. But
yeah, all of them say that.
Yeah, they all do. But the one that I went to, I remember there was a line all the way around the building, and I don't remember if it was even lunchtime. But they said it's always like this. And you go to the first window and you order, and then by the time the second window, they don't write anything down at their first window. By the time the second window, you pick up your order. It's ready.
Yeah. Pink's Hot Dogs in LA is like that too.
Okay. So Fred's in Fort Worth, that's the place I ought to be if I want to go get me a good burger. Oh, that's fantastic. Yep. See, I like food, and it's nice to have a meal and celebrate with your friends. Do you still have pals that you hang around with? Once we get to a certain age, it seems like men are losing friends. I think I have a handful of people I can call friend, and a few of them don't even live anywhere near me. So, I call my best friend from high school, and he's still my best buddy. Do you still have friends?
I'm very lucky in that aspect. There's friends that I've had to this day that I've known since elementary school and middle school, high school, college, professional life. And like I said, Walfredo Rios Jr. from Chicago they came through town, and he called and put Brianna and I on the guest list, and we went to go see him and hang out, and that was great, and of course Chicago sounded fantastic live. And then when the video got to any of the numbers they've made today are astonishing, but my best friend since third grade sent me a text and said, "I'm so proud of you. This is great." And he's like, "Ride this wave." And so it's been really, I've always considered myself very lucky for that. We actually had lunch with my mother, and she was real excited, and that was kind of neat, to have someone that's like, for any musician, the industry has drastically changed just in the last 5 years, 10 years. So to have, your mother who's in her 70s or late 70s, early 80s to go, I understand why this is substantial and this is great, and to be excited. I was just kind of like, what YouTube is? It was pretty funny to me, but it's been a good day.
Yes. And it's every fan, every person that tells you you're doing a good job to a creator, you take it to heart, man. It feels good. Oh, that means I can keep going. Sometimes I feel like I'm too old to be DJing at 16-year-old parties, but then I do one and they go, "You were great, Keys Dan." I go, "Okay, I guess I can keep going." That, it's nice.
Well, and as you know, in this industry, you have there's negativity everywhere. It doesn't matter what industry you're in, and of course, entertainment, like food, and you can tell I love food, so you bring it up, is all subject to taste. What some Mexican food, and I going to get crucified for that. But I also hate Pink Floyd.
What? Oh, my best buddy just rolled over in his grave. He's not even dead yet.
Yeah. I absolutely respect what they do, but that's just not my cup of tea. And the first time I learned that that's actually okay to say was there's a dear friend of mine who I've known, since I think 7th grade, and he cannot stand the Beatles. He says the most overrated thing he's ever heard in his life, just can't stand the Beatles. And I was like, how can you not like the Beatles? And the older I've gotten, the more I'm like, okay, it's just not his cup of tea. He's wrong, but he's just not his cup of tea. No, I'm just kidding. It's just one of those things. And so when you have that kind of negativity around of people just not liking what you create, it's okay. And when you realize that's okay, they don't have to like it. They don't have to be, a fan or anything else. It makes things a lot more palatable, I guess. And then you have, for every negative thing that you're told, like, oh, you're horrible, or you're not a good whatever, good singer, good songwriter, good guitar player, good drummer, or whatever. And then they say, whoever they are, that it takes 27 compliments to balance out the one negative.
Ooh.
But then when you realize that it shouldn't be taken personally, because some people like Hershey's, some people like Nestle, some people like Coca-Cola, some people like Pepsi. It doesn't matter, because it's not a personal attack. And I love the fact that there's people that whoever's getting into entertainment or whatever field they decide, and they have that excitement and that energy and that drive, and you don't see it waver. Those are my favorite people. Well, I love seeing people being excited to wake up every day and feel like they are blessed to do what they love. And I can't stand people that are like, well, I do this because I have to. I hate that.
Unfortunately, when you have a family that you have to take care of, sometimes you do go to a soul-sucking job and do it day in and day out. Mm-hmm. Now, you mentioned the Beatles, but I noticed earlier when you mentioned the Beatles, you forgot Ringo Starr. I got your back, Ringo. I love your quirkiness, man. Caveman is still an underrated movie. It was awesome.
The Caveman was a great movie. It was. And I love Ringo. Actually, the dear friend of mine is in his all-star band, and I got to work with Ringo on his Ringo Rama album. I got to be one of the engineers on it, and he is one of the sweetest people on the planet. Actually, everyone that came through that session was a sweetheart, but of course they were all very mellow.
Yeah, but it's great working with musicians that don't have the egos that they could have. My goodness, that man has made millions and millions of dollars in this show business, and he doesn't have the ego. Paul McCartney, every interview I watch him in, the guy is down to earth. The kids were making jokes years ago when he was playing with Kanye, and they said, "Aren't you? Yeah. Isn't it great that Kanye helped out Paul McCartney? Isn't that cool? This new guy that Kanye helped him out." What a joke! But
and the funny part is I wonder if when he did like say and This Girl Is Mine with Michael Jackson, if people thought that was the same thing. I'm kind of curious about that.
Well,
I just remember growing up knowing both of them were household names, so I was like, that's cool.
Years ago, I had a little girl ask me, "Hey, was Paul McCartney in another band before Wings?"
There's a Simpson clip where they're trying to get Bart away from Mr. Burns, and they bring a guy in that unbrainwashes people, and he says, "Oh, don't worry, I can save your son. I am the one that got Paul McCartney out of Wings." And Homer hits him and goes, "You idiot, he was the best one."
That's hilarious, man. You're talking about hired guns and things like that. I just heard a podcast about Milli Vanilli, and on their album, the guys that actually sang the songs were credited as backup singers. When the hired guns go out there Like when they were on the Monkees record, were they credited as maybe backups or nothing like that? Nothing at all?
No, the powers that be for the Monkees wanted the fantasy to be complete, and Peter Tork made a very good statement, and it was scripted, but he might have been having a hand in the script on it. But he said that the mind has a hard time discerning between the real and the vividly imagined experience. And Nesmith would always call television the great American narcotic, and said, when you have the great American narcotic at work, you have people that they wanted Alan Alda to be a surgeon. They wanted, Brandon Fraser to be, George of the Jungle. They wanted those things to be real. And with the Monkees, the record companies and the power that be really made it that way by just saying it's these four guys. You get the first record, you turn it over, it lists the four guys, and of course they use their real names, and listed them as being the band on the record. There's no mention of anybody else. And so it made that fantasy real. And the backlash never went to the powers that be. The backlash went to the four actors that were the Monkees, saying, who are you? Who do you think you are? And I don't think they ever really got through that, even though the show and the musicians that made those records all went on to do amazing things. And that they, one of the people that's come out now, Mickey Dolenz, here's a plug for you. Mickey Dolenz' new record is a tribute EP to REM. REM has stated several times that the way they got together is they learned to play Monkey songs, and that's how they became a band. And so you have bands like REM or Weezer or Death Cab for Cutie, which have all been Monkees fans, written music for the Monkees, and it's amazing that influence has gone on just as much as any influence goes on through any popular act that's now become legendary. And of course, right now there's a new band out of Italy they're new to me anyway, called Manskin, which is like a mixture of David Bowie and just great rock, and they are fantastic. And they give me hope for new music, actually.
Yeah, I got one girl at karaoke on Friday nights at the Rab. She sings a Manskin. I know it's Mainskin, but Manskin song, and oh my goodness, it's wonderful. And you were talking about people want the actors to be the people that they portray on the screen. I've talked to a lot of actors on this thing, and they are a different breed. On some level, they are who they play on the screen. I think Alan Alda probably could do some minor surgery if he had to, I think the Monkees, I guess they did learn how to play their instruments and become who they were pretending to be at first.
Yeah, they hired musicians and actors. They all had to play something to do their part. And but Mickey Dolenz has often quoted it as Leonard Nimoy really became a Vulcan. And the other Monkees have said, Pinocchio did come alive at one point. And what's kind of neat is the initial TV show of the Monkees was 1966, 1967. It was just 2 years. But yet they continued to tour up until, Mickey's still touring now. He has a show tomorrow night. So it's kind of like who discerns what's real and what's fake. Those four entertainers really entertained for 50 plus years.
All right. Well, I mentioned a little bit ago that some people from California are moving out to Texas to your area. Is that how you've been able to keep in touch with a fine stable of musicians that can help you with the McGrath project?
No, the McGrath project really has, even though I formed the band in Los Angeles, and there's a lot of Los Angeles players, and when we tour, whoever's available can come in and out, and I've kept those friendships and relationships. The majority of what I've been using are local Texas players. And if one of them can't, or two of them can't, or three of them can't, then I'll go to the LA part, not because of they're in LA, but touring now. You used to be able to be in an opening slot and say, I need X amount that could cover touring costs expenses. Well, the living expense in Los Angeles, and San Francisco, again, is so large that even if it's a good wage for a musician here, it will not cover them, and it's not worth it for them to leave. And I would love, like, when some of my friends from LA come through, and I always ask, I'm like, hey, I'd love to see you. What time's your load in? What time's your sound check? And they're like, oh, I have to be at the venue at noon, and we have sound check at 1, and then we have a break. I'm like, well, let me pick you up and take you to breakfast. And they always say, because they usually only get like dinner catered, and they're like, we have to send money home because rent is $4,000. And so it's really interesting. Well, not interesting. It's kind of hard to see living expenses becoming so drastic. And of course, there's memes everywhere. You can, whether it's TikTok or Instagram or Facebook or Twitter or whatever, X. People are like, hey, look, different governments have admitted aliens are real. They're like, I don't care. How's that going to help me pay my rent? Yeah. They're like, no, look, this is real. They're like, whatever. I don't care. You lie about everything else. What's the proof?
Well, it's all a distraction is what it is. It distracts from what's really going on. Republican, Democrat, I don't know, man. None of them care about us, but that's all.
Republican and Democrat are two wings on the same bird.
Yeah. I know Southern Democrat used to be kind of what the Republicans are now. It's oh my goodness, politics. But I know you mentioned something earlier that touched upon me before I went on this mini rant on politicians that don't love us at all. But but.
That's okay. I don't love them either.
Yeah, they're not thinking about us. Give shout outs to the bands that the band members that you're working with right now. And do you have any shows that are coming up?
Yes, we're doing a Halloween festival tomorrow, and then we have our actual launch party for the new record on Saturday. And if different people are playing different shows, and so it's kind of like, which lineup do you want to see today? There was a great interview with Dave Grohl that someone would ask him at some point, like, okay, so who's in the Foo Fighters now? And he would just go, well, it's this. And I feel that very much, because it's like, oh, who's in the band this week? I'm like, well, this is who you will see at the gig this week. And but no, our core members are Guyton Sanders on drums, who is from a band called the Vandaliers, who are doing really well. And Guyton exited the band, and now he's with us, and we love him. He's fantastic. Brianna Littlepage is our singer, and she does fantastic. Eric Delegard, who is in several bands, does corporate stuff around DFW, but he had an original band called Beef Jerky, which was way ahead of its time, is playing bass. And Victor Toruno, who's in a great kind of funk disco band called King Booty, is doing keys. And so that's it. And then my future stepson's doing secondary guitar. So Devin Littlepage.
That is fantastic. Keeping it in the family. And you got, man, three out of all your members are in your family. My goodness. But, you were talking about the Beatles, and my favorite is Queen. I mean, I think I love them because they're versatile. And if I can be bold to compare the McGrath project to them, you don't limit yourself, man. You stay, you said you play country on the Red Dirt radio, and then here you're playing hard rock. And then you have, one of my favorites that I just saw was a cover of a Bon Jovi song, like in the the style of what is it, the lounge singer type song. You Give Love a Bad Name. I know that there's lounge singers. I'm kind of blanking on the name of the most famous lounge singers that are on the YouTube and on the videos that I watch, and they'll sing pop songs in lounge form, and it's just, that drives me crazy. I love it.
Yeah, Richard Cheese is one that does
that. That's one. Yeah, that's right.
That's actually a friend. I dig him. So. Whoa.
Well, all right. The bouncy video screen for the people that are watching the video leads me to believe that it's time to start winding this thing down. You've given some shout outs to people that have helped you along the way. And I guess I better put this video out like toot sweet because you mentioned things that are happening tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, they happen all the time. We are always on the road. We are always doing stuff. Like I said, just follow the link. I'm sure it's somewhere there for the website or our social media. Find out where we are. Find out if we're going to be in your region, and we'll be great.
Well, the original website, you had one that was the McGrathProject.com. Is that no longer?
That one no longer works. It was one of those that we bought from a hosting site, and then it expired, and now I'm probably going to have to buy it from them again. But that's okay.
No problem.
It'll be there. But right now it's a Wix.com, McGrath Project, tmp.wix.love.gov. something. I don't know.
Well, since I'm looking at
if
it,
I don't burn the toast, it's a computer miracle.
Let me see if I could say it clean. McGrath, tmp.wixsite.com/McGrath. And yes, the link is in the show notes below. Make sure you check that out. Now, hey, do you post all that on your social media? Because I know a lot of kids don't like to go to the website, and sometimes the websites are not easy to update as social media. So where's the best one? Facebook, Instagram, X. I think I'm supposed to say X because because Elon Musk, our overlord, doesn't want us to dead name Twitter.
Well, that's okay. Let's see. On X, you can see us, and if you say it, then I say it again, and we have a triple X thing people can go to. And so there's that. Yes, we are on X and Facebook and Instagram. Those are the big three. So if you can go to the holy trinity of social media, we are there.
Well, because you're in a relationship, you had to give up your OnlyFans. I'm so sorry about that.
Well, everyone loves an elbow picture, right?
Yeah, feet pics, man. I thought you were selling feet pics. But all right. Hey, well, I mean, shoot, let's wind this thing down. I usually finish these things off with last words for the people. If you don't have anything else to promote, and I want you to come back as often as you like, man. I enjoy talking to you. You're a cool dude. But let's do last words for the people. It could be words to live by, something you heard a long time ago, maybe a mantra you wake up with every morning, or whatever pops into your head at this moment in time. Gary Bryant McGrath of the McGrath Project, give the last word for the people.
If you find yourself in a swimsuit in the ocean, you will still be wet.
Well, there you have it, party people. Gary Bryant McGrath. I think I'm flubbing the name because I added his middle name. Usually it's Gary McGrath. All last year I've known him as Gary McGrath, but then on his regular Facebook page, he put Bryant. His middle name's in there. So I'm going to go with it. I like the 3-name thing. I don't have a middle name, so I think it's cool. I've always been Daniel, no middle name. Nah. My dad had a middle name. How come I wasn't a junior? His name was Daniel, and he had George. I didn't have a middle name. So Gary Bryant McGrath, always good to talk to you about your McGrath Project, the McGrath Project, and all your various things. Oh my goodness. And all the talent that just comes in and out of your orbit is just amazing. These are people that you can learn from, teach at the same time. You learn from each other. It's nice when bands get together. There's a local place here in town called TC's. I think it was the Grand Ole Opry West. And on Sunday nights, and this is not a show that I'm affiliated with, and by no means, but on Sunday night they got the jam, where local bands from all over Arkansas go there, and you'll have the drummer from one band and the singer from another band and guitars from another, and just bass and rhythm and just keyboards, and they all just jam. They just jam. I've had the pleasure of going there some Sunday nights. I know I got to be up in the early on Monday morning, but I think I'm going to make a point to get out there and check out the bands. Go see a local live show. Support your local musician. It's tough. It's tough following these dreams. Especially if you don't have a big record company behind you. But even if you do, sometimes the record company is going to take a little more than their share. They're going to try to. So you got to have a lawyer. You got to have representation. That costs money. Oh my goodness, show business. It's so hard. It's so hard. I can't imagine the people. Oh, now the record companies are they won't touch you unless you have a gigantic following on social media. Don't get me started. Don't get me started. All right. I guess we need to finish this officially. Thank you, Gary McGrath, for coming on the What Makes You Famous podcast on once again. I'm all tongue-tied and twisted. So excited. I'm so excited. Thanks for being on the show, and thanks for being a cool dude, man. It's nice to know you. I really enjoy that, and I'm glad you found love. That's a beautiful thing too. Excellent. All right, that's it for this edition of What Makes You Famous. Now, if you'd like to tell your story, I encourage you to give me a call, 501-470-6386, or email keysdan@aol.com. That's it for me. It's keysdan, radiowhat.com, djlittlerock.com. Peace. I'm out of here.